What's that say? Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night, 7:11 p.m. Central. Some weird arrow messages. This stream was deleted on Face. Not that again. We got our saboteur. Wonder who that is. I have ideas, but we've had some situations on StreamYard where some shows have been deleted. Like it will give a StreamYard guest to a link to a guest, and then you go to it and it's deleted. So there's supposedly a saboteur. So now I'm seeing that some things were deleted. So I don't know, but just weird stuff. Just don't get any more weirder, just one thing after another. Listening to United Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. You got Wham here with us tonight. How's it going, Wham?
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I watch the world just kind of.
It's Man in the High Castle, and we're just, I haven't watched that yet, but I get the premise. I want to watch it, but it's happening really, so it's a little uncomfortable. But Michael Kozlowski, say your name one good time for everyone.
Michael Kozlowski.
I did it.
It was good.
That's good. All right. Well, it's great to have you back.
Yeah, good to be here.
And basically, just to give a little history, Jim Willis was going to come on about the afterlife. He had a book out about the afterlife, and I had never met him before, and I was looking forward to interviewing him. And he unfortunately passed away before that show on the same day. Which was really crappy, and I didn't know him, but I felt sad about it, and it was weird. It's like he's coming on about the afterlife, and he went to the afterlife, I guess for the second time or whatever. I have to reread the book to get all the details, but anyway, it was it was sad, and I'd like to think he's a guardian angel of the show now. We had him on, had his editor on for his book that was going to come out, Lost Loots and Treasures, afterwards. And that was really good. Some Indiana Jones type situations. And we did kind of a memorial. And now we have Michael on about the Bigfoot book. Wow. Does he have another book out there too? How many books does this dude have sitting around on the cooker? But how'd you get involved in Bigfoot?
Well, this one was kind of, we got the windows open and some dogs making noise over here. But so Jim was probably, I'd call it halfway through the Bigfoot book, had a good rough draft, an outline done. And he passed away, as you said. He wanted to see the book finished. His family wanted to see the book finished. The publisher, of course, wanted to see the book finished, and we share the same publisher. So they thought of me, gave me a call. We have similar writing styles, I think, or at least come at things from a similar vantage point, and how we research things, put ourselves into the book, keep it pretty personal. But they asked me if I'd be interested, and I was working on another book at the time for the publisher, and I had not met Jim. I've used his books in some of my own research. So I know him through his writing, and now much more intimately through his writing and through his notes, and, working with somebody's rough draft, I get a lot closer. So, looked at what he had, and it was really basically the same way I would have went about the book, and dove in, and some stuff I could copy and paste and put right over. Others, it was just a title on a chapter that needed to be written yet. And I think we ended up with a pretty good mix of portions of the book where it's just Jim speaking, portions where it's just me, and then, 90% of the book where hopefully you can't tell who it is.
Yeah, and recently we had Michael Winkle on Beasts Beyond Belief, Sneaky Werewolves, Flying Cats, and Accidental Apes, and they had 200 Tales of Cryptid Creatures and Unusual Encounters, and that was a great show, and actually Uncle Bear Publishing. But my point is, the kind of I really love your book. I love books that have the different encounters where you're learning different stories and encounters about these different things, and it's just fun to be able to flip through a variety of different situations with the particular cryptids and stuff like that. So what exactly how much of the book did he have done, and how much did you have to add? I know you went into a little bit, but
I would say he was a good 50%, maybe more. Done on the rough draft, on the first draft. So, every word was looked over again. Some of it was simple, grammar editing and stuff like that, like we all need after our first drafts. And some was more rewriting. Some was, figuring out that was really a Jim thing to say and not a Mike thing to say. So we had to find the us thing to say. And then another, probably good 40% of it was, completely new. I would hazard to guess. And kind of redid all the research, followed up on the research he had done, expanded on that. So yeah, probably I'd say it's a good half and half, really, to be honest.
And what do you think about Bigfoot? As far as I know, there's so many theories and perceptions of it, and different viewpoints. But what's grown to you about it that's attached to you? What do you think about it?
Yeah,
Like,
so
what is it?
At all my investigations, I'm sort of the John Cusack in 1408 character, right? I'm the skeptic looking to disprove things. Or to find the evidence that makes them proof. I don't discount any stories, any encounters, anybody's experiences, but you only know what you know from your own experiences, right? So, so going into it, I would say I was, call it a 10% believer. I'd like to believe I'd like to believe in all the stuff, right? I want to believe in everything because I love magic and aliens and wonder, and I think that makes the world a better place. But let's say I was a 10% Bigfoot guy, and I'm fairly new to the supernatural genre world in the last, half a dozen years or so since I started working with Visible Ink, and kind of moved away from just fiction. So, I'm on the learning experience with the reader, which makes it fun. So going in, again, let's say I'm 10% through the research, through the encounters that I read about, the people I spoke to, really the kind of history that presents that can give evidence or substantial evidence about Bigfoot existing and how that timeline would work and evolution and whatever. I would say I've definitely moved toward the middle. I wouldn't say I'm over the 50% mark yet, but I'm probably somewhere in the 40, up 35, 40. I think that's a pretty big swing for, one book. So that's where I kind of stand on the if Bigfoot. The what Bigfoot, I tend to believe it's more of an organic being rather than something supernatural or alien. That's just the park I'm in right now. I think there's some interesting evidence, some interesting encounters and stories for all the different theories. There's, interdimensional, there's alien, there's, an organic, a beast, a greater ape or a lesser human sort of thing, right? I land that it's somewhere in that organic thing. And that's the right side brain of me, the engineer,
And well, I mean, if you look at humans, we supposedly had ghosts. Bigfoot could have a physical and then the astral side to it. So that would sum up a lot of weirdness to it too, as well. I mean,
yeah, more than one thing can be true, right? So
yeah. And then a lot of people have seen them with UFOs. That's when it gets really, really weird. I mean, Stan Gordon in Pennsylvania, as professional as you can get, has some crazy UFO situations with Bigfoot. That's when it really starts getting in your brain,
Yeah,
really start thinking about it. And I'm someone that's had UFOs above me with witnesses to where it seemed like you start to wonder, did the UFO take me and I just don't even know it? That's pretty much where I'm at with it. But I mean, there's a lot of them where I've had it like that. So I don't rule anything out. That's for sure.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't discount anybody's experiences, beliefs. I wasn't there to experience with them. I take them at their word that, if nothing else, and I'll say with a caveat that for sure some people are just full of it, right? But
Yeah,
but for the most part, you can tell when somebody's being honest. And I think, whatever the explanation is in any of those cases, whether it's ghosts or aliens or Bigfoot or whatever, the experience that person had is definitely the experience they had, right? That's what they believe, and maybe their explanation doesn't pan out in the end after all the research and all the investigation, but when they're telling that story, that's certainly what they believe happened. And I'm not one to say it didn't happen because I wasn't there.
That's it. That's the pivot point there. A long time ago, in written form, I interviewed Justin Smeja, who's a very controversial Bigfoot personality that supposedly shot one. And my first thought is he's full of it, but I don't know. I wasn't there, and maybe he did. But I mean, I know there's a lot of controversy and people get upset about that one. But that was an old written interview I did a million years ago.
There's certainly some stories aren't going to be true, and maybe not because they're malicious, just it's just not what they thought happened or whatever. And that's fine. I don't I don't have the answers.
That's the big mantra is I don't know and I wasn't there, and that's truth.
Yeah, I'd like to have the answers, and the book does a great job, I think, of presenting a lot of evidence, a lot of research, a lot of theories, and I think dives really deep into a lot of different areas, often really arguing for the point of Bigfoot's existence in many different forms or variations. It's called Encounters Across America, but it really encompasses so much more. I mean, we talk about just about every country in the world. So there's been a Bigfoot sighting. The Yowie in Australia and the Yeren in China, and you go back into of course the Yeti and the Nepalese folklore and Native American folklore, and there's just so much overlapping and so many stories that it's like UFOs, right? There's so many sightings, so many experiences that that's a whole lot of people to be in on the game, right?
Did you watch a lot of like footage? We've been watching a lot of that kind of footage, like Slapped Ham and all those weird YouTube channels that have like just footage of weird stuff happening. And man, some of it is crazy.
Yeah, and I watched a lot of the Bigfoot encounters type stuff, and everything you can find on Prime and whatever, Netflix and YouTube, and all of it. And some of it's pretty hokey, but some of it's really interesting. It really gets in there.
Yeah, there's definitely some that you're just like, God, if they fake this, they put a lot into it. They need to be doing some movies or something. But yeah, there's been some crazy ones. We've been watching a lot of them lately, and I think some of them are real, but you just don't know. So you have to be kind of skeptical and have discernment at the same time, which and sometimes you're just like, that seems really real, but you still don't know unless you're there.
Speaking of movies, I'm gonna steer the interview a minute. How about that? What do you think about the Patterson-Gimlin film? What's your opinion on that?
I think there's something to it. I mean, mostly just because, I mean, I know I've seen different things where there's suit stuff and just blah, blah, blah. But of all the footage I've ever seen, Bigfoot doesn't have boobies. That Bigfoot had some boobies rocking. So that's something that makes me wonder if it's maybe real. Maybe that was a female, but I don't know completely, like we're saying, but I think there's something to it, but I don't know.
Yeah, the film doesn't really sway me one way or the other. I think, it could be real. It could be faked. It's just too hard to tell from the grainy footage and all that good stuff. What probably sours me the most on that film is the beforehand information. And I got into a lot of that in the research in the book of Patterson and sort of his MO in trying to be famous, going out there to make a kind of a Bigfoot mockumentary in the first place, and then just happening to run into Bigfoot. And now, of course, he was in an area where Bigfoot had been sighted and whatnot. But some of that stuff that led up to the film casts more doubt on it for me than the film itself does.
Yeah, and there's just so many different. There's a good one on Tubi, Native Bigfoot, about the Native American perspective, and I think Kathy Moskowitz Strain is in it, and I've interviewed her a long time ago, but she has a great book. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's like, was it Gods, Cannibals, and Monsters, or Cannibals and Monsters? But it basically gets deep into the folklore from tribes, and that's when it gets really, really good. Like, I love that stuff for sure. That's
there's a lot of crossover with the stories of Wendigos and Skinwalkers and how they might be related to Sasquatch.
What was I know there's a story in here about an elephant in India or something. That's one of Jim's chapters. That was a strange kind of parallel.
Yeah, it was more of a parable. So I think a lot of people know the old fable, the blind man and the elephant, right? Each one grabs a different area of the elephant, trying to describe what the elephant looks like. So one, grabs its trunk and thinks it looks like a python, and another, grabs its ear and it's a big fan, and one grabs its tail and it's a stick, and the leg, it's like a tree, and everybody's got a different idea. Nobody's got the right one because you're only getting pieces of the information. And that was just a parable to kind of a metaphor, right, for how people investigate anything, but Bigfoot in this case, right? You get small pieces of information and you try to extrapolate the theory or the answer based on that. And then, a lot of people will get stuck in that mindset. That's the only way they're going to believe, regardless of what other information comes to them later.
So you've done ghosts with your first book, and what was that, American Ghosts?
American Ghost Stories, yeah. I got a copy of it.
When we first met you, that was really good.
That's my working copy with all my little tags in there. It's got some shine on it. I gotta get it on American Ghost Stories.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice, and that was great. That was a Visible Ink press too, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the first one I did for Visible Ink. When I did the Bigfoot book is the second with them. But I'm also, at the time when they called about the Bigfoot book and finishing up for Jim's work, I was in the midst of writing more of a broad kind of mysteries book, right? So a little bit of everything. It'll have cryptids. It'll have mediums and psychics. It'll have geographic anomalies, portals, all that good stuff. Sort of a wider range, aliens for sure. But smaller sections, kind of bite-sized chunks for people to read. I think people enjoy those, and quite likely that'll lead to whatever the next one's going to be, whether it's aliens or whatever. Whatever one of those chunks strikes me the most will probably be the next book.
Well, you're working on one, aren't you? Didn't you have to put that on hold a little or something?
Yeah, that's the mysteries one. Yeah, that talking about.
What is that? What kind of mysteries is that? Just an example? What?
More like a broad unexplained, right? Aliens, cryptids, mysterious triangles, geographic anomalies, mediums and psychics, just a little bit of everything. Ghosts again will be in there, I'm sure. Nice.
And I've worked with the Visible Ink Press for a long time. I actually had an interview with Brad Steger, and it was in New Dawn magazine, an Australian magazine on ghosts. That was a cool one I did with Brad and Visible Ink Press many moons ago.
Yeah, they do a great job over there. I think you mentioned Jim's editor being on it was probably Kevin Heil, maybe.
That's him. That's him, and
you just have both of mine, and he just you give him something, and what he gives back to you is amazing. It's twice the book you sent in the first place.
Kevin has Uncle Bear Publishing now, and he just had a book that you might want to check out. Michael Winkle's Beyond Belief, freaky like werewolf stories and cryptids and stuff. It's called Beyond Belief.
Okay.
But Kevin just put it out. Let me make sure I get the right title. But I have a Bigfoot book, and I'd love to write another book at some point, but it's not an easy thing. And I put out a lot of books that were just transcripts from the show, and like people from the interviews and stuff from the show. And I had to listen to it and type it out, which I never want to do that again. I put my hand through a door at one point, and that's not something I normally do to things. But it was like you're listening to every word, and I already suck at punctuation. But the book was Beast Beyond Belief: Sneaky Werewolves, Flying Cats, and Accidental Apes by Michael Winkle.
Okay, Winkle.
And it's who do you consider is the Four Horsemen of Squatchery your chapter, or was that a Jim chapter?
That was a bit of both. Jim had kind of titled it and headed in that direction, but I think all of that chapter is me outside of the outline. But yeah, that would be Renee DeHeden, Krantz, Byrne, and why am I blanking on the other name right now?
It happens. Don't stress.
I'll tell you.
That's my life story right there.
I have my notes in front of me somewhere.
I just saw Jeff Meldrum passed away. That sucks.
Oh, I didn't even see that. When did that happen?
It happened a few days ago.
Yeah, just earlier this week.
No kidding. I did not.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
terrible.
it sucks pretty much. Yep.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to look that. What? Just natural causes? I hope nothing.
I believe it was natural, but I mean, I don't know, but I think he's like 80 or something.
Yeah, he was.
Well, yeah, they didn't give. They said that he'd had some kind of an ongoing illness. They didn't say what it was.
Okay. Yeah.
It wasn't announced.
Yeah. John Green was the other of the four horsemen I was trying to talk to. So those are the guys that kind of all met up in those early days of Everest expeditions and all that over in Nepal, and then really kind of brought the legend, over to the States. I think did more than probably anybody to kind of spread the Bigfoot lore, story, legend, whatever you want to call it, throughout the U.S. and really dedicated their whole lives to it. Krantz was very much like Meldrum. He was a professor, often, kind of sneered at for his research into Bigfoot, despite all his other accolades, but very similar to Jeff. So yeah, man, wow, that's crazy. I mean, this is my shocked face. It was,
they just announced it. He had brain cancer.
Oh, okay.
So it says the illness was brief and he passed with his family at his side. So it was probably one of those, glia carcinomas that goes really quickly.
Yeah, I had an uncle that suffered from.
Yeah.
I got the slow kind.
Yeah, well, I just have killed too many brain cells. So.
So it's interesting when you tie giants into all this Bigfoot stuff, and I know there's a chapter on giants, but then you got the biblical stuff, and I mean, to me, it seems like Bigfoot could be giants. I mean, it's the same thing, isn't it?
Sure, right? I mean, the story of Goliath, or stories of the Nephilim, angels and human offspring, were said to be giants, and almost every religion, every kind of history, right? Whether it's Greeks, Romans, the mythologies, giants feature. Even in Norse mythology, right? You have Titans and whatnot. So while many of those certainly are exaggerated stories, like many of the probably biblical stories are, they're more parable-like. There's usually something rooting those in a kind of reality. So we know we have basketball players that are 7 feet tall. So wouldn't be so strange for those sort of anomalies to happen, and which could either be related to Bigfoot or help to kind of spur the legends.
Yeah, it's interesting with the Nephilim stuff and all that, and I've even seen preachers saying they've had Bigfoot encounters and used the cross and the Bigfoot's vanished, trying to tie them into demons and weird stuff.
If you look deep enough, though, it will overlap something every time.
Definitely. And the book that I have, Praise for the Hairy Man, The Secret Life of Bigfoot, it's a bunch of different interviews with Bigfoot personalities. And it gets from Justin Smeja, the guy that supposedly shot one, to Kawani Laparitis, about alien portals and Bigfoot. So it goes through to Stacy Brown, who lives down here, and him and his dad got some footage, and they're more bare bones, go into the woods looking for it, Bigfoot. So there's a lot of different interviews in it. But what are some cases that are in the book or that really stood out to you? What are some of the bigger cases mentioned?
I think the one that kind of struck me was a case in I think it was Northern California. It was in Pacific Northwest anyway. Then was a group of campers, kind of young adults and a couple chaperones out who were just filming the mountains and caught, a creature walking across. And there's video of this creature walking kind of across the ridge of the mountain and then toward them. And it wasn't so much that it was a great video or anything like that, but the reaction of the people in the video and the very honest and heartfelt reaction that it felt like either they were great actors or were really experiencing something. That probably was the one that that obviously impacted me the most. There's a lot of others. Some video of a shoulder next to a stump or whatever, but that one was a full full-bodied creature. And again, it was the reaction of those witnessing it that struck me more than maybe the video itself. Some of the others, there was some about Bigfoot coming in and stealing children. Those were Native American folklore, kind of tied back into that, where it was more of a almost like a boogeyman story for the kids, right? Don't get too far from the teepee. Bigfoot will take you. Those stories are always interesting. The older, I find more interest in the older folklore. They just seem more real somehow. I don't know.
Did Jim ever say what got him into Bigfoot? What?
He did. So he had an experience. He had retired into the woods. Had a cabin, and he had an experience with hearing some noises, essentially some knocking. Was with his dog. Took his gun out to see what's going on. Didn't actually see anything, but kind of felt that he was in the presence, and ruminated on it later, and that really is what led him to start this book to begin with. And I detail that he details it in his own words at the end of the book. We talk about that. So yeah, he was really, I would say, Jim was had become more of a believer, just overall, I think, in things supernatural and, paranormal, than maybe I am yet. But this is a man with a lot of experience and a lot of research and a lot of books, under his name. So, I defer to that, in those cases, and, maybe I'll get there as well.
Now he knows the ultimate truth about a lot of things from the
hoping he comes back and gives me some word.
Yeah. I've asked him to be a guardian angel of the show, so still kicking. And I'm someone that's, I've had God pretty much slap me, showing me the afterlife, and it still doesn't seem like it helps. I mean, it does, but I've still freaked out about it. The idea of just croaking and, you don't exist anymore. All your stuff's gone, and you're a naked spirit. That still freaks me out a lot, And I'm someone that's seen crazy stuff to show that there is crazy stuff. So I've seen beings of light leave a house and fly into the heavens that I lived at, and I was completely sober that particular time. And and back in my early days after my dad died, I experimented with a lot of drugs and had a lot of. Now I'm just down to weed, which is a good thing compared to what I used to do. And basically had a lot of experiences from paranormal to UFO to ghosts with people next to me seeing it. And then it helps later in life when you get older, when you actually see the stuff sober. And you're like, but a lot of experiences. One of the big ones was the beings of light. And it was just like two people made of light. Like they'd been in the house and flew out the roof into the heavens, and they were so low, like it seemed like they came out of the house. And it gives me chills every time I tell it. Maybe it was my dad. And there was one time when we were doing some tripping type things with a friend, we saw a being of light on the clouds, and it was like blowing its finger, like, no, like, because we were driving, but it was like 5 minutes away. We still shouldn't have been doing it. Nothing bad happened, but it was like, maybe that's what was that my dad? Was that an angel? I don't know, but we both saw it, and it was crazy. And there's actually a book that's by this lady named Annie Kagan called The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. And it's a great book about the afterlife, but her brother, I think he was a heroin addict and he got hit by a car or something. He appeared to her, and she's a famous singer, as a being of light, and she actually had a being of light experience. So those weird being of light experiences are out there. So that's always good to know for sure when you see stuff like that. But I know the Bigfoot stealing children and stuff, and I know Jay, who hosts the show with me sometimes, he had an experience when he was younger and a Bigfoot was watching him through a window and it got mad that someone saw it and there's footprints. That part of it's kind of creepy. I mean, we'd like to think that they're just like looking at them for a playful manner, but I mean, and then you got the fear monger. Are they there for a nefarious reason? Missing 411. Oh my God, they're taking the children. But I mean, there's a lot of weird, and there is folklore like that, throw them in a basket. We're going to take this little brat like Krampus. It's Krampus Bigfoot. We're going to throw this little booger in a basket. Oh, there's some spikes back there.
Right. Yeah, it's I don't think I don't feel like Bigfoot's a malicious creature or malevolent. I think if there's cases where it's been aggressive, it's probably either defending its territory, or itself or its family, like anybody would do, especially if you're actively avoiding people and they keep coming to bug you. And like I forget the name of the island now, but the guy was killed on it just last year trying to go spread the word to an otherwise uncontacted tribe, and they don't take kindly to people just showing up. And it did not work out well for him. But I could see that those kind of encounters going that way possibly, but I don't think there's a malicious intent.
Yeah, I remember that story. That was creepy. Those stories are always really creepy. Those cannibal Holocaust stories. Saw that movie once. I don't know if I'd want to watch it again. It's one of those type situations, but
by the same manner, not knowing exactly right what Bigfoot may or may not be, I think we would be wise not to underestimate the danger that could be there, right? Whether intentional or not. Another story, right? The grizzly bear guy, right? Went out there, thinks he's friends with the bears until they ate him. You don't know. It's like going out and investigating and making a bunch of whooping and whistling noises because that's what Bigfoot sounds like. But we don't know the language. We have no idea what we're saying or if we're saying anything at all. And if it was me and somebody was just screaming words they thought sounded like English, I'd probably be staying away from them. So I'm not sure that's a great investigative technique.
Yeah, definitely. They seem like when you start intruding on their territory, they start throwing stuff and trying to scare you away and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm always just interested in how they live. I mean, that's some ninja stuff, the way they act and everything. I mean, they're like ninjas.
Yeah, and I tend to believe they live in pretty small groups and maybe even are solitary most of the time, other than maybe to meet up for like mating, or some like early child rearing potentially. My guess is that the males are, more solitary, probably cover a lot of area and territory, so they're not that easy to see. There's something called minimal population viability, which is, basically states somewhere between 50 and 500 individuals can be a genetically diverse enough population to keep maintaining that population. So even at the high end of 500, if you just said in the Pacific Northwest, there's 500 Bigfoot creatures, well, that's a lot of area to spread out 500 creatures, right? So, just happenstance running into them is not very likely.
And let's see. It's just strange to think about. You start to think about, are they us on another timeline? I mean, there's so many weird things I've heard about them.
Sure. Yep. And there's the interdimensional stuff, that they disappear, slip into another dimension when you get close to them, and it basically makes them invisible or whatever. I think a lot of that, to me, I don't know of any. I didn't come across any really good evidence that really suggests that they're interdimensional or supernatural or even alien related, other than people's stories that I saw a Bigfoot and I looked up and there was a UFO. Okay, I guess, but both of those things could be true and separate of each other. You could have potentially run into a Bigfoot and a UFO. Maybe the UFO was checking out Bigfoot at the same time you were. I don't know. But more so, I feel like those things tend to be answers for uncomfortable questions. There's not like something that said, oh, this happened and this is why I think, Bigfoot's interdimensional because I have this piece of evidence that tells me it's interdimensional. It's more, well, I think he's interdimensional because we haven't found a body, or, those sort of reasonings. Which that's why I kind of still lean on the more organic side of it all. And it's not unusual to not find a body of, 500 some creatures that maybe exist in, millions of acres of woods. I'm a guy that spends a fair amount of time in the woods. I'm a hunter. I go deer hunting. I rarely run across an animal carcass, and it's in a place where there's abundant animals.
Yeah, that's true. And could they be like the natives and have some kind of strange contact with star beings? Like that's part of their whole culture, and like the natives have,
Yeah, potentially. They could just have really good burial rites that we don't know, there's no reason to believe that they don't bury their dead, and, we just walk right over them.
And what if they have access to the physical in another room? I know they certainly have abilities that seem very strange. We've had Ron Moorhead on Quantum Bigfoot, and he just had another Bigfoot book come out with David Paulides doing the foreword to it and everything. And he definitely gets into their abilities in a scientific way that's not woo-woo, so to speak, the way he speaks it and gets into it. So there's definitely something going on. I mean, it could just be some kind of thing like an octopus has, or a chameleon, or the predator. I'm not sure. Predator has technology, I think, of some sort.
But still, it's still a good analogy. They could just have a which people generally describe as some sort of cloaking ability, camouflage ability. Some people think they have, mental abilities to, make cameras take only blurry pictures or bad video. And that's why we don't have a good, clean video. We got a couple very good pictures that are very questionable. I won't go into those too much, but some very good close-up faces.
You see the one of the trail cam, and the Bigfoot's like got this hideous smile, and he looks like he's been digging through a garbage can, but it's like, looks creepy, but I don't know if it's real. What about the Todd Standing head? The one that's the head popping up, and everybody says it's a puppet, and it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and it's going to get tougher, right? You'd think, well, we have more cameras, everybody has a camera in their pocket, we have drones now, we have all this stuff, that should make searching easier. But at the same time, you have AI and all this technology that's so easy to fake things, to make them look real, that, even though now maybe we can get a good picture, now it's harder to decipher if it's an accurate picture or not, right? So it's going to get super tricky. I think in the end, and I'm not advocating shooting a Bigfoot or anything, right? But I think in the end, it's some sort of DNA evidence, positive DNA evidence, or a body or something that will be the decisive factor that makes people believe. I think without that, it'll always be a question.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting subject. It's always fascinating, for sure. Wham's up in Hudson Valley, and we know someone, Gail Betty. I always say her name wrong, of course. Betty, it's Betty.
No, it's Gail Beatty.
Beatty, okay.
Gail Beatty.
Have you heard much from her lately on Bigfoot, or anything new up there?
Not really lately. The last I saw her was I think in June, and there were a couple of. She was doing some presentations. She did do a presentation at the Pine Bush UFO Festival, the museum thing that they have there. She did do a presentation for them. So she was doing some field investigations about some new reports, but I haven't heard anything in the last couple months. She kind of comes and goes now in terms of doing field research because she's had some health issues, and she also has a business that she has to attend to. So summer is not her best time for doing field research. So I probably won't hear much from her until probably until November or something, maybe late October, when when the fishing season ends. She runs a bait and tackle shop that is literally the only bait and tackle shop in the entire Hudson Valley, mid Hudson Valley at this point. You had that people have to travel all the way to Newburgh or up to Albany to get bait. So everybody goes to her place, and it's just this little tiny shop attached to her house. So she gets swamped from time to time.
I can't blame her about the heat. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's hot. It's hot. It's been hot for here, but it's not, compared to other places like Florida and stuff. It's not that hot. I mean, I grew up in Kansas, so it's very rarely like Kansas. So, I mean, I haven't really done much with the only other stuff that's happened with Bigfoot that I know of is that Bruce Allenback, who wrote the book about the Kinderhook creature.
Yes.
He's doing. I mean, I think I told you that Seth Breedlove is making a film about the Kinderhook creature. So he came up to Kinderhook. I think it was in late June. Yeah, it was in late June, and interviewed a bunch of us, including me. I don't know how much of that will actually into the documentary, but it caused Bruce to pull all of his old stuff out of mothballs, all of his photos and his recordings and his what was left of the footprint castings that he made. So he had pulled all that stuff out. We all got to sort of look at it. It was kind of fun.
Cool.
So.
Well, I look forward to the small town monsters. I enjoy those. Hey, dog, don't mess with the cat. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the small town monsters, they've got a lot of good documentaries for sure.
Yeah, your dog and cat going. I got my dog gnawing on a bone behind me, driving me crazy.
We have so many dogs here. So many dogs here. It'll make you crazy sometimes. A lot of rescues, and not taking any more, but it's reached its capacity. That's for sure.
We have 3 dogs, 3 cats here.
Yeah, it's like that, but worse. Probably, I don't even want to say the number. It's at least 10 dogs and probably about 4 cats.
Oh, geez.
And a lot of it was just helping them, and it just got, it's managed and everything, and they're taken care of. But dogs will start getting into not liking one another at some point when you have that many, and that's when we're like, okay, yeah, you got to be careful with that. Yeah. Like there's dog man wars here. They have to keep some of them away from each other, so that's gets very nerve wracking. But basically, people have been throwing dogs out here at a park like they're garbage. We found a Boston Terrier. The cutest. Come here, Edgar. Come here. He's busy on a hump parade, but he just the most gorgeous dog ever. Someone just threw him out with a bag of moldy dog food and some kind of just a bowl, and it was like moldy dog food. And the police said we could take him as long as it was a good home, and we took him. But someone's just leaving them. They just throw them out like they're terrible. They're garbage.
Yeah, ours are rescues as well.
And but he's got a hump problem. I don't want to have to fix him, but yeah, he is just out of control. That's all I know. What was that? Let me turn that off. So is there anything else about the book that stands out that you can remember, that some of your favorite parts? Or
I really enjoyed the research back into the sort of evolution theories about Bigfoot, sort of mirroring our own evolution out of Africa, Asia, through the Bering Strait. There are some very interesting fossil finds in Mexico, that show tool use, 100,000 years before we think humans made it to that area. So potentially, were these Bigfoot type creatures, Sasquatch, that had traveled at an earlier ice age across the Bering Strait, made their way down to that area, or even had been in that area as earlier still. I mean, I don't know, but that stuff really fascinates me, that sort of evolutionary and fossil record evidence that doesn't prove Bigfoot, but really points you in a direction, really validates a lot of the beliefs. I tend to believe that, again, I'm in the fence that it's an organic creature, so I tend to believe that Bigfoot branched off, similar as we did. We probably had a common ancestor, just like we do with apes, maybe from apes or from us or from a separate branch altogether. That's somewhere in between is my theory. I think they're either a very intelligent, more intelligent great ape than we've known, which, I mean, the great apes we know are very intelligent. They can learn sign language, all kinds of stuff, right? 99% similar to us. Or it's a yet evolving, hominin.
There's just so much to it that it's hard to wrap your head around. There's just so many perspectives of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it gets real interesting when you start looking at different belief systems, from Norse to Native American, and you got the giants in every culture as far as the belief systems, from Greek to Norse to the Native American. You got the little people, you got dwarfs.
Right.
I've had natives on that talk about these little people really come up and they trade like crystals to them and stuff, and during harvest ceremonies and stuff, and they're dead serious. And I'm like,
yeah,
well,
for sure.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, like, again, whether it's fairies,
I gotta rule it out, but I would like to see it.
Whether it's fairies or leprechauns or orange pendix in Thailand, or small creatures, human type creatures as well. I don't know that I believe it necessarily, but I'd like to. I'd like to believe it. I'd like to find the proof of it, because again, wonder and magic in the world is great, as far as I'm concerned.
At one point there, I've seen something that I don't know if it was the little people. It might have been something a little more nefarious, but it was me and a friend had been partying, and we were definitely doing stuff we shouldn't have done. And it was when I was younger, in my 20s, and we were in the back of the house, and in the woods, 3 beings in cloaks. We both saw it. They had a black box at their feet, and a cat jumped towards them, and they vanished. And we both saw it. Yes, we were on X, but we both saw it. And here's the weird thing now. I've talked to other people that have seen these things. And then sometimes on those crazy videos that you watch, you'll see something that looks like it. I'm like, that's not little bastard. but there's something to it. They may have been the little people or the fairies or something. But then I always think of Phantasm.
Right.
Dwarfs running around, Don Coscarelli. But definitely. So have you had any paranormal experiences? I know I've asked you that before, but have you had any?
I don't have any that I can point to and say were 100% they were paranormal, that I can't, kind of find another explanation for. We did recently, in connection with the other book I'm writing, we did a ghost investigation at a local asylum. Old asylum had been shut down. And we were able to walk through and, just kind of on our own on 4 floors. And it was an asylum that I'd actually kind of broken into when I was a kid, when it was first defunct. It was one of those places that you went to and snuck in and partied and, spray painted the walls and whatever. But now it's under ownership, and they do tours and whatnot, but they let us kind of have at it on our own. And, we tried to do again, I'm newer to the paranormal experiences and investigations, but I had the EVP, and we had the cat balls, and we had the infrared and all that. Didn't pick up anything, any voice stuff, but there were, oh, look at that. There were some whispers that both my friend that was with me and my fiance heard. They both heard voices at one point or another, whether that could have been coming from somewhere else in the building or traveling through, because there was a couple other groups of us spread out throughout the building, but we made sure to stay, separate floors and all that. We had one experience in my fiance had heard something, and we stopped and kind of huddled around, and we put one of the cat balls down, and if you can, make that move, and it did light up. Whether they're pretty sensitive to vibration, so it could have been something not paranormal, but that was definitely an interesting experience. It does give you goosebumps regardless when you're walking around a dark abandoned insane asylum at night and things are lighting up or creaking, or you're hearing what you think are whispers. Whether you believe or not, you're still gonna have your hair on the back of your neck standing up for sure. Oh, we lost you. You're on mute there, Jeff.
I turned it down because Edgar is making weird predator noises, and makes the weirdest noises. But oh, did you use any technology that gets the words, draws the words out of that?
We didn't have a ghost box or any of that, but some of the other people that were in the splinter groups did. I haven't gone through all of their evidence yet. I think one of the groups said they had something, they believe they caught something on the ghost box. So I'm going to check that out, but I haven't got back together with them yet. We did this, it was beginning of summer, maybe end of spring. So yeah, we gotta get our heads back together and go through the rest of the evidence. But I got kind of waylaid over to the Bigfoot book instead. So
now they have these phone apps like GhostTube and some Necro thing, and people claim that they really work. I'm skeptical, but they have done some weird things when we've messed with them. And now you see them showing up in real shows, like the real, where these people are getting paid to do a show, and they're using these things you can just get on the Google Play Store called
sure.
GhostTube.
Right. Yeah. And, even the ghost boxes and stuff are interesting too. We're using the radio, kind of scrolling through the AM, right. Just cycles through the AM stations and whatever. And, some of that stuff, people, oh, I heard this, and it's like, well, you're going to pick up some words, right? You're just scrolling through a bunch of radio frequencies. You're going to hit some stuff. And, the odds are you can hit something that's going to, you can say, well, that was them answering my question. Well, what about the other 20 things that weren't them answering your question? So I have a hard time with those as well. I feel like if a ghost can communicate with us, it doesn't have to do it through somebody else's words.
They are weird. What about that thing that's like, what is it called? Random knot or something, where people like go to some random places and have weird stuff happen. That seems really creepy. Like you could be murdered or something. Like these apps that just like take you to weird places.
I'm not familiar with that, but even some of the, when I was doing the ghost stories book, and some of the mystery stuff, the stories that people tell and the way that people investigate, even with Bigfoot as well. Like I said, just walking into the woods making noises, maybe not the greatest idea all the time. I think people are not always as cautious as they should be with those things, for sure.
Yeah, I forget what it's called. Do you remember the name of that one, Wham? It's like Rando. I don't remember. It's a weird name, but something that takes a nap that takes you to weird places, like synchronicities or something, and leads you.
Yeah. It was that. It was like an app, right?
Randonautica or something.
Yeah.
But there's been they show that now on some of these paranormal things, like a clip of people that did it and they ended up going somewhere weird and having someone used it.
It's Randonautica.
And basically it tells you where to go, and you just go to weird places and some kind of event's supposed to happen and people tell the story. I wouldn't do it. It sounds like some crazy, I don't know, you get killed or something.
Sounds a little dicey.
Don't have eyes.
There's a couple of there's some other ones. One's called Randonautica is the one you're probably thinking of, but there's also Roulette, Take Me Places, and Geo Surprise.
Yeah, I think I just find my own places to go.
Surprise, you're murdered.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think what it wasn't just that you would go to a certain place. It's that what you would do is you would set an intention. It was like you would set like a spiritual intention or a mental intention, and then you would kind of ask the app to honor that intention, and so it was kind of, and there were only like maybe 3 reported instances where something really weird happened, but they were pretty weird. But if you think about the fact that tens of thousands of people were probably using this app at the height of its popularity, and you only have like a fraction of
a few random weird things are bound to happen, right?
and a couple of them were pretty creepy, like the 2 girls who found the dead body in the suitcase. I mean, that would be pretty shocking.
There's a few random places just in my neighborhood that could happen.
Right, exactly. What I'm saying is that statistically,
right,
you're going to get some people that are going to have, meaningful coincidences because of that. But
I feel like there's enough, places of supernatural interest that you don't necessarily need an app to help you find one.
No, I think it was supposed to be almost like a kind of divination, sort of like like a kind of a Ouija board kind of situation.
Definitely sounds like a horror movie for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I know I see the Dawn of the Dead and stuff, and I'm a big fan of horror. I don't know if you're familiar with Al Going Back, OWL Going Back.
We're friends on Facebook.
Awesome. He's been on the show. I don't know if I told you this, but he had a George Romero experience. He was friends with him, and George was making a Bigfoot book, and not a Bigfoot book, a Bigfoot movie. And a college not too long ago just released some stills of it. Of course, I don't think it's never going to get made, of course, but it was a movie that he was going to do, but then he had to work on something else and it never got made. But they had a whole college thing where they showed a lot of the actors that they were going to use and draw Bigfoot and stuff. But George Romero asked Al to play this native that like wrestles a mountain lion or panther or something. And that was what he was going to be in it. And I forget the name of it, but it's pretty interesting. But horror is something I've always loved, and I like the more subtle stuff. I mean, I'll watch the crazier stuff at least once, but like I like Terrifier. I mean, I love it, but it's hard to watch. Like,
I'm not a big
too much
gore guy. Not big on the gore. I'm more of a psychological thriller kind of horror kind of guy. I'm a big Stephen King fan, of course, Gen X. And my writing tends to be more along those lines, more psychological horror than physical. Although there's, my short story collection is pretty broad, kind of covers a little bit of everything. Actually, looking forward after this next book, I think I'm going to go back to some fiction work that I've got in the wings, maybe for the next year before moving on to the next paranormal or supernatural book. I'm thinking about doing one called Spirits that's just all haunted bars.
What's your short story collection called?
That is called, I have a copy of that here too. That is...
I love Stephen King. I was reading Pet Cemetery in 6th grade. That's
that one is, there we go. Some days suck worse. You'll find that on Amazon or on my website, MikeKozlowski.com. Get that plug in.
Nice. I want to see The Long Walk really bad. That's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that one. I also have, this is my novel in 2 parts right now. Angel of Death and Fallen Angel. It's sort of a zombie Jason Bourne mashup, I kind of call it. Also on my website and on Amazon and at some other publishing places. I don't know.
Yeah, I know George Romero's daughter is supposed to be doing some kind of new zombie movie, Queens of the Dead or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Something. I know he was working on some kind of gladiator car, weird Mad Max type car vehicle combat zombie thing when he died. I don't know if that's ever going to get picked up by someone or maybe by her or something like that, but definitely sounds interesting for sure.
Yeah, I definitely want to see what she comes up with on her own there.
Queens of the Dead. And what about UFO stuff? Anything UFO ever?
I have not had a UFO experience. When I was a kid, I had a orb experience. We had a light kind of travel down our street that I grew up on, more than a few people saw. We used to call it the Calhoun Ghost, but it was the street, not Calhoun. But nothing UFO for me yet, anyway. But I'm getting more and more into the investigative stuff now. Have some offers to go do some more field research, with the Bigfoot book out now, and meeting some different individuals that have access to places and equipment and whatnot. So looking forward to doing more of it just in general. So maybe next time I'm on, I will have had a UFO experience.
Definitely. You kept up with any of the Skinwalker Ranch stuff on the History Channel?
I watched an episode or two, but I'm just not a kind of reality TV guy for those kind of shows. Even like Bigfoot encounters and stuff like that. I can watch a few of them, but there's never the payoff, right? If anything was going to happen, we'd know about it before they aired it on there.
Yeah, there's a lot of crap for sure.
So it gets tough. It's it can be really interesting, but the interesting stuff kind of gets lost for me within the the production stuff and the reality TV stuff and the cliffhanger sort of stuff that ends up driving me crazy, and I just can't maintain.
A lot of the Bigfoot stuff, I wasn't a big fan of Finding Bigfoot. I mean, I watched it some, but
yeah, same.
Got a little off. Whenever they got in the woods with all that green, it made me want to throw up. But the only thing I would say about Skinwalker Ranch, I believe there's genuine phenomenon there, but there's definitely something going on with spooks, like government spooks and agencies on that show, because there's UFO phenomenon. There's a guy named Chris Bledsoe that summons UFOs, and the whole time there's former CIA with him, Colonel John Alexander, and crazy government spooks on that show. So that's the creepiest. It's more creepier than what's paranormal on that show.
Right.
A lot of government agencies involved.
Yeah, well, I think there's a ton of, I don't doubt any little bit, Area 51 and all that stuff and government cover-ups and, or at least, if it's not a cover-up, they're not sharing any information with us,
Yeah, they're holding back for sure.
But, and maybe in some cases that probably makes sense. In others, release the files, Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're having all those congressional hearings and stuff, and then of course,
are super interesting. That those I have been following. They're to hear not to discount anybody else, but I mean very credible witnesses. Pilots and Air Force guys and whatever. Sharing their encounters is pretty interesting.
For sure, and it's definitely. And then of course you have the Pentagon releasing stuff and then saying there's nothing. So it's like you jerks. But well, that's the book is Bigfoot Sightings, True Encounters. Is it? I'm trying to scroll up to the
I got a copy of that too.
Yes. I know the title. I'm just having to scroll through the PDF.
There we go. I'll share it on the screen.
Bigfoot Sightings, lift it up a little bit more. So over your neck, there you go. True Tales from Across America. Bigfoot Sightings, a great book from Visible Ink Press. It's on Amazon, right?
It's on Amazon. The easiest way to find things, either search my name, Michael A. Kozlowski, and you'll find all the books on Amazon, or my website, www.mikekozlowski.com.
And keep us in the loop for future projects. We'll get you on for a third show so you can have a trilogy and we can do some prequels.
Sounds great.
But we appreciate it. It's a great show as always, Michael. Thanks for representing Jim, and I'd like to think every show is a memorial to him out of respect. So we appreciate it, and thanks so much, Michael.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Great talking to you guys again.
All right,
Thanks.
take care. Watch Alien Earth.
All right, I'll check it out.
There's an eyeball. There's an eyeball alien.
Watch the Detroiters.
Oh yeah, I need to write that down because I'll do that. All right, I'll check it out. All right, take care, man. Take care. All right, everybody. You're listening to United Public Radio, 107.7 FM, New Orleans. And let me write down that Detroiters because I'll forget it. I need more comedy in my life. I like Friendship because it was kind of dark and messed up. So that was I like darker comedies, that's for sure. But that guy Tim Robinson he's nuts. He definitely may have some mental situations that he works on on the camera, but he goes crazy. I know there's one on Netflix where he's holding a like alien and the alien's dying and he's crying and screaming about the alien dying, but it's called Friendship. It's on HBO. Paul Rudd's in it, and basically it's about a guy that's having trouble at home and doesn't have many friends, and he becomes friends with Paul Rudd, who's like a weatherman, cool dude in the neighborhood, and it just gets really weird. Definitely gets weird for sure. Harley, chill out. But let's see who's coming up on the schedule. Where did it go? I got the October schedule done. Let's see. Next week, Steve Rother. That's Jay. That's spiritual stuff, the group. October 3rd. Will you chill out? You're going to do that the whole time. No, you're not. You better chill just because she went in there. Dave God's Word. That's some Lovecraft, Florida stuff. I know some Lovecraft stuff. I'd have to look at the rest of his material to see what else. That's the 10th. The 3rd is Ernie Altbacker and Josh White. That's Area 51, a comic book and a novel called Area 51 that's really funny, like almost like a TV show situation happening in Area 51 with aliens. When you come back, October 17th, Tyrone Ellington, African-American gentleman from Mark Eddy, about ancient aliens and stuff like that. So he seems really smart and has a YouTube channel. So definitely, I saw a weird video today on Slap Ham, and it was about this black dude that was like a genius, and he like made some kind of technology to break down like plastics and with gas, and he went missing or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, I no, but no, I don't know specifically what you're talking about.
He was making some really weird stuff, and like that was real technology that could do stuff with fuel. And then he said he was getting a lot of death threats and things like that. And then he kind of vanished. And then his mom came forward to say he was okay because everybody was worried that he got killed. It's on Slapped Ham, but his name may have been, I don't remember his name, but it was on one of those videos I watched there. But he was making weird stuff like that. It broke down waste and turned it into fuel and just craziness like that. And let's see who else. Jacoby Matat. That's the Hellbound Halloween. That's that is a graphic novel, but he also has a car like Christine and Hearses. Him and his wife do a lot of crazy cosplay. They were just doing the monsters. He was the Frankenstein, and she was the other chick. Then October 31st, no show, and then you come back for Richard a Step. Need to get you that PDF. That's a ghost book. And then the 14th is Penny Bradley. That's Jay. Arthur Verslulius. That's alchemy, something to do with alchemy. Thanksgiving, no show. Now I'm still working on December. I know Maxim wants to come back. Maxim Furrick. There's also Kim Pape. She's a Dogman situation that was on Monster Quest. I need to check that out and see if I can get her on because she expressed interest, and she's on my Facebook. But I'm working on doing something good for December as we close out, hopefully. And then Maxim, there's some other people I'm working on for December, but the biggest thing is I'm taking Thanksgiving and Halloween off because Halloween's on a Friday. I ain't doing a show on Halloween.
Yep. That's great because that allows me to go to a Halloween festival.
Yeah. What kind of Halloween festival?
Oh, it's like there's several towns around here where I live. They like shut down their village or their downtown depending on if they're a city or a village or whatever. And they have a big huge Halloween parade and all of the all of the shops in the area, that are like in the middle of the village, all the shops will be open and kids can go, and instead of going trick-or-treating at people's houses, they go trick-or-treating to all these businesses. So it's like there's huge parade. So it's like the entire village or town celebrates.
That sounds fun. Where's this at? Hudson Valley or somewhere
Yeah,
else?
in the Hudson Valley.
Cool.
Yeah. So Saugerties, the village of Saugerties does this. New Paltz does this. I think Linebeck does some of it, huh?
Have you been to it before?
I haven't been to. I've been to one. But it was many years ago. It was the one in Saugerties, and when I first moved here. But I haven't really been to one since, because a lot of times Halloween falls like in the middle of the week or something, or something else is going on, and so. But this is the first Friday it's been on in a while, so it'll be fun to go.
Sounds fun, yeah, like Mardi Gras for Halloween.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's always a hoot. Here they don't really do anything. They don't even act like it was weird because actually last year trick-or-treaters everywhere for the first time ever I've ever seen them here, like ever. Wow. And I've lived here for 10 or, I've lost count, a long time, 15 years. I don't even know anymore. And I've never seen a trick-or-treater, but for some reason, last year, everywhere.
Well, cool.
I don't know what happened. I'm glad. I mean, it's neat, but it freaked me out. Because they still didn't come to our door. Our house was kind of in the back in a weird place, but they were going to doors everywhere. It was a trip. I usually just try to get party and watch weird movies, but try to do something different. I do that anyway, almost all the time anyway. So, but hesitant to go anywhere. I wouldn't mind going to a haunted house or something, but just the way things are. Who wants to? Things are creepy right now. Things are scary, on the edge.
Yeah, they're on the edge.
And they've gotten weirder, so much weirder.
Yep.
The whole Kirk thing, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, well, there's this, I've been, I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but, there are these rumors based on a communique that was based on Project 2025, but also a communique that was leaked to the public. And so what we don't know whether this was just like an idea that was being thrown around or whether it is a directive that is being written up. I mean, it's hard to know, but that the rumor is that members of the FBI after the Kirk thing they're drawing up some kind of a definition which defines what trans ideology is and how it constitutes anyone who advocates it or anyone who uses certain language that they've associated with it can now be classified as a domestic terrorist. It's like, I mean, like I said, there has been some communication or talk about that, but just how serious it is, whether it's just talk or whether such a directive is actually being created is not clear. The FBI has defined recently a what's called NEV violence, which they are classifying as a kind of terrorism. It's a terrorism. It's various acts where the individual who is committing the acts doesn't appear to have a real defined ideology. They've sort of been radicalized by the idea that there is no ideology that really can capture what's going on with them. And this is really connected to online gaming stuff. And it's called nihilistic extreme violence. There, because several of the last few shooters, including the person who tried to shoot Trump last summer, several of these individuals seem to more fit that than they do right or the left. You know, it's like they'll have some left ideas, but some right ideas. They're not really affiliated with a party, you know, or a side. But a lot of the language that they use comes from the gaming community.
Huh.
You know, and some of it can be right leaning and some of it can be left leaning. So it's almost like I mean, in the case of this kid, who we all know his name, he seemed to have kind of a, you know, sort of a confused identity in that, you know, he grew up in a very, you know, Republican MAGA thing. His mom said he had started to kind of talk like a leftist person, but then when you actually look at what evidence is there, like the bullet casings and, you know, all of it, it's a mixed bag of stuff. It's a mishmash. So, you know, he may not have had a clearly defined ideology, you know, that you could say was right or left, but he certainly was radicalized by the idea that somehow violence is a way to solve certain types of problems. So, and that's a gaming idea. That's not just, you get that from various online, very graphic.
Yeah, it seemed confusing. Like he seemed like he was on the right side to me. But I mean, of course, now they're painting him as he's left and, you know, let's start a civil war, left, blah, 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 blah. But from what I've seen, he seemed more right. Like it was just confusing. Like what?
Well, it is. I mean, I just read a BBC article about it where they were trying to sort of outline it. For people who might be interested in looking at or listening to some more sophisticated sort of alternative understandings of the kind of world this kid lived in, the online world he lived in, there's a YouTube channel called Panic World, and it's run by a guy who really specializes in paying attention to these online communities, you know, whether they're of the right or the left or whatever they are. He does probably the best analysis of the evidence so far that I've seen. He just does a really, really good job of providing kind of a different way of understanding why, you know, where this kid may have been coming from and why the right left paradigm that so many people like to attach themselves to, why it's just really not sufficient to explain what's going on with a lot of youth. Basically, it's let me see if I can. I've looked at several of his.
There was one conversation I saw in his text where he was like alluding that the reason he did it was because Charlie Kirk was mean. Like he was just It's just weird, like so weird. And then I saw another thing that was saying it was because he wasn't mean enough. So it's
Right.
like, which is it?
Okay, yeah. There's a short that this guy did, and it's called "Charlie Kirk Was Killed by a Meme," and he does a really, really, really quick sort of diagnosis of the various online communities that it appears the killer was associated with, and a really good analysis of the the symbols that were on the bullet casings, how they're linked to certain video games, what those video games are like. Basically what it looks like, according to this guy, is that what radicalized him, there were probably several things, and they were not what we would call, ideologically coherent. And so to just say that he was just associated with groypers isn't quite right. To say that he was just associated with trans ideology, because there isn't a trans ideology anyway. There isn't one trans ideology. What's weird is that the people on the right who say that completely forget about the fact that there are some very prominent trans individuals who are on the right. Caitlyn Jenner being the most prominent of them. But if you get on YouTube, there are a number of members of the LGBTQ community who are extremely right-leaning. There's another podcaster, a guy named Matt Bernstein, who has done a number of really good podcasts outlining the trans people and the gay people, the queer people of various types, non-binary people who are on the right, that are completely ignored entirely by, and accepted by people, on the right. They're not even considered. But anyway, so some of, he could have been influenced by his roommate. He clearly was influenced by certain types of violent proto-fascist video games. He could have been influenced a little by groypers. We know now that he was interested in furries, so it's he wasn't coherent, and so to try to paint him one way or the other is just wrong. He may not have liked Charlie Kirk specifically. The one thing that I will say is that, people who've tried to link him to, quote, trans ideology, whatever that is, and to groypers, there is one thing that groypers and trans people don't like. There is one person that both of those groups don't like or didn't like, and that was Charlie Kirk. So, Charlie Kirk was the common denominator in both those groups, even though they are diametrically opposed to each other. So, there you go. I don't know. For some reason, I can no longer hear you, Jeffrey. Neither.
Yeah, I got it. I just keep forgetting because of dogs, and then I'll shut my mic.
You're muted. I see.
Yeah, I muted it. Yeah, I mute it when they do weird stuff, and then I forget. But I saw the Tucker Carlson thing where he basically called them out for using Kirk against, to cause an authoritarian power grab. So I'm sure that just put him on the poop list. Not that I listen to Tucker Carlson anyway, but I thought it was a good plus move, though. At least he's speaking out about it.
Well, right. The thing is that I guess the thing that has offended me about it more than anything is that, Kirk was, first of all, painting him as a moderate. He was not a moderate. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, at about the same time that Kirk was shot, and I'm not saying that it was a good thing he was shot. By talking about Tyler Robinson, that doesn't mean that I think Tyler Robinson did a good thing. I don't think that at all. But at the pretty much the same time that was happening, there was another shooting that was going on in Evergreen, Colorado.
Yeah.
And there are people that are killed on a regular basis at schools and in other places by disaffected people who have guns. And, Charlie Kirk is not more important than those people are. Yeah. He was just more public, more people knew about him, but he is not more important than, the kids that got shot in Michigan, or in Wisconsin. He's just not. And it's, to try to valorize him in this way over just because he was a public figure. Yeah. That it's just,
it's gross.
I mean, I've even seen people on the right try to compare this to like the assassination of Martin Luther King. And I mean, no, it just isn't. Okay.
I've seen the quote of things this guy said that's like horrible.
Right.
It's like terrible.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, he was not a moderate. Well, I mean, he was a moderate compared to Nick Fuente, but, of Groyper's fame, but, it's
a huge dick.
It's kind of like comparing two forms of cyanide. It's kind of.
I don't think he deserved to die, but he definitely seemed like a big dick. Roseanne had a show titled "How Charlie Mirrored Jesus."
Oh, for God's sake!
And then the Jimmy Kimmel thing, they're just going crazy. Like, that's insane. He didn't even say anything that terrible.
I know. No. I mean, he didn't say anything that, millions of people weren't thinking, and it wasn't celebrating. I mean, I even had an exchange with somebody, with a relative, of course, a right-wing relative on Facebook, where, they couldn't tell the difference between irony, because that's what I felt when I heard about it. I just felt ironic. I was just like, wow. And then, the first thing was, wow. And then the second thing was, well, they're going to milk this for all it's worth, And then the third, I didn't even think about the shooter, I mean, who knows? I mean, there are all kinds of reasons why lots of people would want to shoot Charlie Kirk. I mean, Nick Fuentes basically, well, you can look him up and see what he said about Charlie Kirk on more than one occasion. So, basically accusing him of not being, violently accusing him of not being conservative enough. So, it's like, so the first thing I thought of was, well, they're going to, what I said. And then the third thing I thought of was, once I saw the actual video of the event, I felt really bad for the people that were sitting close to him, because they just got sprayed with his blood. And that has got to be traumatic. But then the worst thing that I saw was some footage, and it hasn't been taken down. I'll have to find it, but it was actually posted on Instagram that somebody that it was like maybe 30 minutes after the event, like everybody had been cleared out, the security cameras caught some bozo going down to the stand where Charlie Kirk was shot, going down to the stand and trying to help himself to as much blood spattered memorabilia as he could.
Weird.
And now whether security caught him and divested him of those things, I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. But the fact is that somebody was going to go down there. Somebody went down there and was nabbing all that stuff, T-shirts and, that would have his blood on it. And what he was going to do with it. He was going to sell it for souvenirs. He was.
Crazy.
Because that's what people do.
There's some old man that said he did it, and that caused some kind of ruckus in the crowd.
Yeah, and that's weird too. It's like, why would he say that? It's just like, who is that dude, and why would he say that?
And apparently he causes trouble with a lot of things, but that would get you put away. That's the thing I don't get with it. I don't think anyone deserves that to happen to them. But why would you want to throw away your life doing that? I mean, you're gone. You're dead. You might as well be dead. You're going to probably get the death penalty. So, what's the game? I mean, there's no. What did you win in the end? Nothing. I mean, something maybe at first you think, but not really. And then you damn your soul probably or something, or at least set you back to another life where someone gets to kill you. So
yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's like
it's the payoff.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why there might be some people that didn't like him, but that's, and I didn't care for Charlie Kirk obviously myself either, because I heard what he had said about people, but that doesn't mean I'd ever want anybody to shoot him, especially in public like that. Because it's not just, I mean, it's one thing if you go to somebody's house like that dude did in Minnesota, you go to people's houses and you kill them in their homes. I mean, that's one kind of statement, and that's a bad statement too. And it's another thing to do it really publicly so that everybody can see it. It's more of a spectacle, Yeah.
That's crazy. Not worth the time to me, and the stress. My God, stressful shooting someone like that afterwards.
Well, obviously it's stressful. I mean, it's like, the dude didn't even know exactly what to do. I mean, it's like
he went to Dairy Queen.
He went to, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Stupid. But
I guess I don't understand what happens in someone's brain that they think
it's okay.
That's okay. That will solve a problem.
It's just going to get you put away with no weed, no PlayStation, no anything. You're not going to play your stupid games anymore. You'll
exactly.
Atari 2600 up in the.
You will be banned from the internet.
You might get an Atari 2600 shoved up your ass. That's about it. Nothing else is going to happen. You're gone. You're probably not going to see a pizza again.
Yeah, and because he's a tiny little guy too.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Going to be someone's bitch. Like, I don't want to go to prison.
Oh God.
I like some of the freedoms, but mostly just stress. Like, I've been trying to find another job, and my job had more stupid cuts, and I make a little bit from it, but it's like a lot less than I was. And he seems to just be running you to the cheese grater every year. But I've been putting in some applications. One's kind of weird, and I'm sad I haven't heard back yet, but you somehow get traffic cam data at home and go through it. Like from traffic cams.
Like, why? I mean, like, what's the purpose?
I don't know. It's like a work at home job. I don't know. But they're probably not going to hire me. But I tried. I'm trying to do stuff that doesn't have a phone because it's so loud here, so it's harder. But I'm looking at different stuff. But I'm also thinking about a YouTube channel and a TikTok and stuff, looking into that, trying to see if I can get that going. And I'd put the archives on it at first, and then maybe do my own little, talking once in a while, go somewhere, a paranormal or something, something like that. I even thought about letting Christina come on there and do dog rescue videos, just a collage of all kinds of weird stuff on one channel. But the archives will definitely be there. So I want to stick those somewhere, and they keep getting deleted at Rumble. So I'm going to try YouTube and TikTok, see how that goes. And you definitely don't get rich doing that unless you get lucky. And some of those people have like millions of people. God, I mean, millions of visitors or whatever, or subscribers, and probably make like $5,000 plus a month or something. But it seems like you got to really get lucky to get to any kind of level on there. But you don't know until you try, till you do it. So we're going to try it. But yeah, I've been looking through work. There's a lot of work at home stuff like that's real. There's Rat Race Rebellion. That's a very good site. There's one on there. I was talking to, remember Susan Mayorgi, or did I say her name right? She was telling me about a job somewhere. She's a friend of yours, Susan, with an M. You're on mute. But she was telling me about some jobs. But there's one on there where you help the blind at home. Somehow you have some kind of tech. They have some kind of tech, and you help them in front of them do stuff at home, and you get paid for it. That's pretty neat. That's Blade Runner-ish. Some Blade Runner-ish stuff. But there's all kinds of sites now for that kind of stuff that are real. But a lot of them want you to do a phone, which that's probably sucks. You're on the phone all the time to people. Ugh. But my big thing is I can't do some 8 to 10 hour jobs standing anymore like I used to do when I was younger. That's these places, like, they get you there and they think you're supposed to stand for like 10 hours a day or something. It's like that's like putting up the pyramids of Egypt as a slave to me at this point. You're standing that long. My feet hurt already just thinking about it. But I've always had bad foot pain, so I have to be careful. When I worked at Petco 10-hour days and the aluminum factory when I was younger, my dad used to work there. That was horrible. And they just make you, they don't, sitting down to them, it's like a tragedy. You got to stand. Love the human body. You do stand that much at your job? My God.
No, I don't. No, I in fact, I sit too much. I have a standing desk, so I sit and stand. I mean, and I walk around and I do, I like have a mat on the floor because I'm out in the office. I have a mat on the floor and I do stretches and, because if I sit for too long, it kills my back.
Yeah.
Kills my
probably
back.
Sit too much too at this point, but I definitely can't be standing all the time. That's for sure. But yeah, somehow you look at traffic cam data at home. I don't know if you look through it and like, oh, that one ran this, and I'm going to report. That would be weird. It's like Big Brother. Some 1984 surveillance situations. But yeah, they skipped the South Park episode this week. They didn't finish it. So I'm sure they're going through all kinds of crap with that. I didn't know that Cartman was playing Kirk in one of the episodes. I didn't know who he was playing. He was playing some kind of right-wing personality, but I didn't even know who Kirk was, really. I might have seen the name, but I didn't care enough to even think about it. But then I realized that that's who Cartman was playing in one of the episodes recently. He was playing Charlie Kirk before this happened. Of course, now they're trying to blame South Park for it somehow.
Yeah, trying to blame South. So, try to blame. It's try to blame people rather than just sort of take responsibility for themselves.
Yeah, just nuts. And you can see where they're trying to ramp up Antifa.
Like Antifa is not an organization. It's not a single organization.
Yeah, it's anonymous, sort of like that.
Yeah, it's like an idea. It's an idea that some people, that individual groups can sort of organize around if they want to. And all Antifa means is anti-fascist. That's all it means.
Yeah, if you're not, why is he so upset about that? If you're not fascist,
obviously he's just trying to paint them as leftists, but it's there isn't an organization to ban. That's the thing. I mean, by his definition, anybody who opposes him could be considered that.
Yeah.
Or could be called that. So that's why, that may be, the ultimate reason why he's trying to say that. But
he looks worse than Biden now. Like it looks like he had a stroke or something. Every time I see him, he's like drooling almost. And then they probably give him some ketamine and cocaine or something and wheel him around. Then the bruises on his hands and the pictures where his mouth's kind of like something's definitely I don't know. Maybe he croaked and they're using the clone now. I don't know what they're doing, but he definitely seems worse. Health wise, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's just so weird. It's just so creepy. All right, who is our guest next week? Because I already forgot. Let's see, because I have crappy memory, not because of the guest. Steve Rother. That's a spirituality type book, Psychology of Spirituality, 12 Lessons. Yeah. And working on December. Got to get some good ones for that, for sure. Richard Estep, I need to get you that ghost book. There's a new show on Netflix, Haunted. What is it? Oh, Haunted Hotel. It's by somehow the Ricky and Morty people. And it's about a haunted hotel, and it looks crazy and silly, so I might watch that later. Yeah, Haunted Hotel. And it's got all kinds of ghosts and slashers and stuff in this hotel. It looks funny and crazy. But it's an animation kind of situation, so I might try that later. I want to see a movie called Weapons. It's supposed to be pretty good. There's this funny show that's called The Whitest Kids You Know, and they do skits. And apparently that dude, one of them, it's on Amazon, but one of them's a crazy one about Hitler, and they're just stupid, silly skits, and it's called The Whitest Kids You Know. And it's old. But anyway, apparently that guy broke off, and he did a movie called Barbarian, which was really crazy. Like, he's making, like, really good horror movies now. Barbarian was just about an Airbnb or a house that was for rent or sale or something. And they get there and it has like underground chambers, and in there is like this crazy mutant weird lady that's like, it's crazy, but it kills you. And it's like got boobs, and it's like mama, like something from Hills Have Eyes, and it lives underneath this house. But anyway, it was nuts. And anyway, the new movie Weapons is supposed to be really good. It's got the girl from Ozark, the blonde hair girl. She's supposed to be playing Madonna or something in some movie, but she's a good actress. She was in the new Wolfman, even though that movie kind of sucked. But anyway, I'm not sure what it's about, but it has really good reviews. And I know if it's by that dude, it's going to be nuts. So I'd like to watch that. Need to catch up on some of my Godzilla films. There's some I haven't seen, minus one. I don't even remember when that came out, but I would like to watch it. But we got about 3 minutes. You're listening to United Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. And make sure you check out Michael and Jim Willis's Bigfoot Sightings book. It's on Amazon. And gosh, it just seems like stress is just more and more, especially when you go through financial crap. It's just like torture. It almost feels like you're tripping, but not in a good way. Just craziness. If you want to check out churchofmabusradio.com, that's churchofmabusradio.com. There's a GoFundMe in there if you want to help the show. That helps pay the internet bill to keep the show on air. And we're going for many, many, many years. We're going to put the archives up. I might even put up those old chat interviews I used to do, the old ones with Stanton Friedman with no audio. I have those, so I don't know if that format will fit on YouTube. I'm sure it will somehow, but I may even put those old jokers up. That's some old oldie goldies right there, but that's a trip to watch. I haven't watched those in a million years. I never watched them except the time I did them. I never had a reason just to rewatch them, but maybe I will. But there's some good ones in there. Hopefully we can get those up. But all right, everybody. Thanks, Wham. Have a good time on your, well, that's a little while, but your Halloween parade, keep us updated on that. That sounds fun.
Oh, well, take it easy.
All right, take care. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. Good night.